Right, hi. This is a sort of movement tutorial for the Portal 2 Mario Odyssey mod. Just because, if I'm making, a guide for all the moons or whatever, I might as well make a guide for the movement. So, you understand what you're doing. Because not everyone's played Mario Odyssey. So, first of all, you should probably get used to, like, throwing Cappy or whatever. Like, just kind of goes wherever. Like, use E or like whatever you usually use to pick up cubes. I'm not sure what it is on controller, but you'll figure it out. And then obviously you can like walk on it and it bounces you up. Like, it doesn't bounce you up that high, but it bounces you up a little. I think it's about the same as a jump. Sometimes it can bounce you higher, but it's kind of like inconsistent and kind of broken. I'm not really sure how it works. Then there's also rolling, which is where if you crouch and then spam the Cappy button, you don't have to spam it. You can do it slow. You can do it like you can press it slower. But it's just slower. So you just do that, and then you just kind of roll along the floor at a somewhat speedy speed. So that's fun. And then a sort of similar vein is if you crouch and then jump, you do a backflip, which you get quite a lot of height, compared to a normal jump. And you also get a little bit of backwards momentum, as you can see. So again, that's just crouching and jumping. And now this one might be a bit more tricky, but for this one you want to crouch and jump, but jump as you're crouching, if that makes sense. So go forwards, crouch, and then jump. Like if you do it when you're down here, you'll just do a backflip. So you need to do it like as you're crouching. So just sort of like jump like a second or half a second or a quarter of a second after like holding duck, if that makes sense. You can also like combine those together, but it can be a bit finicky. So you don't need to worry about that. Now, this is the jump that I think gives you the most height. This is the triple jump. So as you can see, I kind of did it fancy there. But just W, jump, 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 just get a bunch of height. Nice and simple. Obviously, the problem with this one is, especially if you're just using spacebar, it might be a bit hard to do because, like, obviously I'm using scroll wheel, so I get a bunch of jump inputs. That's not important. But also it uses quite a lot of space if you just do it straight forwards. You can like kind of do it at a turn. That works. Obviously that might be a bit harder because you need to like stay above a certain speed for it to work, or else it like doesn't. Then there's also like the very fancy way where you like you can even like do it from like a standstill, which is if you're in like a very tight place or whatever. Okay, and then there's wall jumping, but this isn't the best map for wall jumping because like there's not very many like walls, like sort of like opposite walls to each other. So what to wall jump? You just W, like jump, and then jump again when you're at the wall, and as you can see, you just sort of bounce off. It is possible to like kind of corner wall jump, but it is pretty hard. Like, and I'm not going to explain that because I can't be bothered. Like, yeah, it's hard. You don't need to worry about corner wall jumping, I don't think. Right. So next is the ground pound. So for this, you want to jump, and then in the middle of air, click crouch. So as you can see, you kind of like stop in the air a little bit, and then you go straight down. Let me go up here so it's easy to see. Ground pound by itself doesn't actually really do anything, but it's what you do with the ground pound that makes it useful. So first is the ground pound jump. So if you ground pound, as you can see, like kind of like sticks you on the floor for a little bit before putting you back up. If you jump during that stick, you get a higher jump than usual. It's about the same as a backflip, I think. Yeah, ish. I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, there's the ground pound jump, which can be useful in very tight spaces where like you can't afford to like move at all. And then another thing you can do with ground pounding, and this might also be a bit hard, is if you ground pound and then click the Cappy button right after ground pounding while you're still in the air, it does a dive. So if you look at the input HUD, sorry, I don't think I mentioned the input HUD, but there's an input HUD at the bottom right. It kind of shows my movements. forgot to mention that. So yeah, so like, you know, ground pound, E, ground pound, cap E. So, you know, maybe practicing that a bit. You want to try to do it at like the top of your jump, so like the dive goes the farthest. Now you can also do this after any other type of jump, really. So if you were to do a backflip, you can still do it. Like you can still ground pound after a backflip, so you can still dive, or a triple jump. See, and so like, you know, like the dive gives you quite a lot of horizontal and a little bit of vertical. Kind of like it's useful if you just need to go a little bit farther on a gap. And now this might be where it starts getting a little bit hard. So this is the so as you can see, you kind of bounce off the cap, but you can also do that in midair. So if you jump, I'm gonna do this without like going forwards fast because it'll make it a bit easier. So if you, sorry, you probably heard that was my phone. If you jump, throw your cap, so jump, throw your cap, and then do the dive, so the ground pound D. So, and look a little bit down, like it's not super precise or anything. As you can see, you sort of get a bounce off your cap. Yeah, it might be a bit hard, but once you're comfortable with that, try doing it while moving forwards. So it should be about the same. It's not that much harder, I don't think. It's just holding an extra button it might be more confusing. It might not be. I can't speak for you. But yeah, as you can see, you know, you kind of do that. And again, you can do this with any other type of jump. So if you ground pound, you can do the same thing. Obviously, you've got to throw the cap at a different time because you're going higher. A backflip does the same thing. Now, the slightly harder version of this, it's not that much harder, but you do the thing. You do the, you know, throw, ground pound, throw. But after bouncing, after you get the bounce, you do another dive. You can't get another like cappy bounce because it just doesn't work like that. But as you can see, I do a dive onto the cap and then I do another dive. And once again, I bet you know what I'm going to say. You can do it in combination with all the other things. So, you know, if you wanted to do a full ground pound jump, you jump, you throw your cap, you dive again. Yeah, it might take you, it might take a while to figure it out because it's quite a lot of things for your ants to be doing. Yeah, and then also like if you know how to b-hop, that can also be useful. It's a lot less necessary than you might think because the Mario Odyssey mod gives you so many like movement options that it's obviously still very useful, especially for some of the harder moons. But like, I'm sure you can like beat the game or whatever without knowing how to b-hop. Is that it? I think that's mostly it. Thank you for watching, I suppose. Goodbye.